So it sounds like we had some confusion with an article. Kind of let us know what happened with this headline that I think hasn't even been taken down. I think it's still up. So kind of what's going on here? How did this story spread, and what's actually going on with Mount Rainier right now?
Yeah, it looks like it started with an X post, a tweet, and that turned into this article that's gone kind of viral today that implied that there was a big volcanic tremor activity happening at Mount Rainier. Mount Rainier was waking up. It's absolutely not true. It's false. Someone had looked at some of the data which we put out live, real-time streaming all of our data from the seismic network here. We monitor Mount Rainier for earthquake activity, seismic activity. And one of our stations has a technical problem. It's basically showing static, it's showing noise instead of seismic data. But someone out there, without really consulting any of the experts, misinterpreted that as something happening at the volcano, and we are where we are today. But really, PNSN and the USGS want to affirm that Mount Rainier is absolutely at normal background levels of activity, alert level green all the way.
Is there anything causing this technical glitch? Because yeah, this passionate producer who's all into this stuff, she showed me, and it does look crazy, like it's off the charts, and you're like, whoa, like this is scary looking.
Yeah.
So what is it showing exactly?
Yeah, it's just showing what happens when we do have just noise and no signal coming through. And so it amplifies it like crazy in the display that you can see that gives you like red and blue everywhere,
Right.
this crazy looking display. What's actually happening is that one of our stations, which is the highest one up on Mount Rainier, it's in an incredibly remote spot at 11,000 feet up on the mountain. It's subject to all the weather of this kind of year, this time of year. And it gets its data back to us by sending it over a radio link, so over an antenna. And that antenna is almost certainly covered up in rime ice right now, meaning mountain, weather that produces just like caked on ice on anything. And it's trying to blast that signal through the ice, and that's not working. And so instead, all we get is noise.
And outside of looking at those signals, now I guess I'm branching into what if we did see activity? Is what would we see maybe on your scanners? And also, is there anything maybe apparent to the naked eye or an observer or someone afar that might be able to notice something if there actually was activity?
Yeah, if there was actually any activity happening in Mount Rainier, the first thing we would probably see is earthquake activity picking up that we pick up on our sensors, even if no one's feeling them, very small events. Um, this summer, we had a swarm in Mount Rainier of earthquakes, which is hundreds or even thousands of earthquakes. Even that wasn't enough to show us that volcanic activity was beginning. But if we saw that changing, if the earthquakes were moving shallower, if there was any kind of steam or certainly ash coming out of the summit, or we also can measure with satellites and from space whether the volcano is bulging and actually changing its shape or producing what we call a thermal anomaly, meaning heat, extra heat coming out. None of those things are true, but if any of those things were true, that might be a sign that the volcano is waking up. And if you use the analogy of Mount St. Helens back in 1980, the seismic activity, the small earthquakes, started 2 months before the eruption, and so there was quite a long run up. And we don't know if it would be 2 months, but we think that Mount Rainier would certainly, and Mount Hood for that matter too, would certainly produce a lot of signals before an actual eruption took place.
This is all very helpful. So I guess other than actually consulting the good people at PNN SN before going and doing a news story, any other, I guess, word to the public or suggestions regarding this matter?
Yeah, I mean, the first one is kind of just that we have people whose professional job it is to monitor all of our volcanoes in the Cascades. That's the US Geological Survey and the Pacific Northwest Seismic Network, and we are doing it. And so look to us first, especially if you see a sort of sensationalistic account. Maybe take a quick look at our website, see if we're talking about it, because if we're not, it's probably not real. Um, and then the other one is just, everybody should understand that we have to be prepared in the Pacific Northwest for earthquakes and for volcanic events. We'll get some sort of advance warning for volcanoes, maybe not as much for earthquakes, although we do have the shake alert early warning system nowadays. And so, take care of, having a plan for your family in the case of an emergency, have that extra food and, batteries for flashlights and all those things in a good spot in your house where you can get at them quickly. All the stuff that you hear about in terms of preparedness.